But I remember my dad decided we will name it Chrusciki Bakery. I was in high school, and I looked at him and I said, no, don't do that. No one will ever be able to spell it, pronounce it, like none of that. And he's like, that's the point. And it's true.
What does it mean to plant your flag? It means you're not afraid.
It means you're passionate about what you do.
It means you're here to serve others.
In business, in life.
In good and bad.
You aren't afraid to fly your colors proudly because you know
you serve a greater purpose. This is the Plant Your Flag podcast with Mike Bean and Jeremy Mountain. Hey everybody, welcome back to Plant Your Flag, the podcast. I'm Mike Bean from Bean Media Productions. We're joined today by Ania Duchon.
Yes.
And you have such an extensive resume. You are the definition of entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Chrusciki Bakery, Sto Lat Bar, Simply Pierogi. Go ahead. How is it said correctly?
Pierogi.
There it is.
I know, everyone loves it. Like, oh, you say it just the way it should be. It's pierogi.
Right. I love to eat them, and I do my best to. My wife is Polish, so. But we really want to talk about the whole entrepreneur kind of atmosphere, the drive. Your story is extremely unique from early beginnings, from your parents traveling across the world to set up a better life. And I'm not going to do it justice. So I would love for you to be able to chime in and say, what are you up to today, and what are some of the things that you're most passionate about, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Do you want me to start with a quick story?
Yeah,
right from the beginning.
That.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll dive right in.
Start
Everybody loves a good story, but I always say everyone has a story.
Yeah.
I do love to share mine, but we all have one. So picture 1984. I'm 9 years old. My sister is 12. And my mother says, we're taking a trip, but you're not coming with us.
Wow.
Yeah. And see, this is where I want to cry. I mean, it triggers. It triggers, like, it's just such an emotional thing. So they said, we're taking a trip. We're not sure when we will see you again. And they left. They said, they looked at my sister Monica and said, take care of your little sister. And they left my sister and myself with my aunt, Dorothy. She was 21 years old at the time, my mom's sister. She was the youngest, and said, take care of the girls. And, I just remember them leaving, and it's such a blur, but at the same time, I remember just becoming very independent, walking to school by myself, cooking for myself. I mean, all the things that, I don't know, I don't necessarily think a 9-year-old would do these days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not today.
No, not at all.
A GPS tracker and a phone.
Exactly.
And a tablet.
It felt really safe. I actually just came from an interview, and there was one of the questions, like, what was life like at that time? And it felt safe. I spent a lot of time outside with my friends.
Yeah.
We didn't watch TV. We didn't have cell phones. And with my parents, the communication was a letter once in a while. We didn't have cell phones at all, or phones, even rotary phones.
Sure.
So we had letters and a package that would come once in a while. And the package would be a case of oranges, case of lemons, or a box with Puma sneakers and some candy and chocolate. And I remember maybe at that point I was 10, and the Pumas came in, and they were huge. They were 3-4 sizes way too big for me. But I put them on, and I wore them, and I was so proud to have them.
Right.
But they're like boat shoes, So, but that was just kind of like the beginning of our story.
Yeah.
And, moving forward, we were reunited. Chernobyl blew up. Chernobyl was, such a big scare for us. The radiation was so crazy that we ended up getting our visas, and we were able to be reunited with our parents, Buffalo, New York, 1986.
No
Closer to
kidding.
1987, yeah. That was December. So, yeah, that's kind of how it started.
I moved from Ohio in 1987, and that was a big move for me at that point in my life. And I was 8 years old. So I can imagine, like, you had to have grown up fast. This is more than being a latchkey kid.
It is. Yeah.
So you went through a lot, and you've got kind of two different worlds, right? You remember where you came from,
Yep.
but you also knew you actually didn't know where you were going. I didn't know where I was going either when I was a little kid. That had to have been really, really scary.
It was scary, but honestly, I don't know. We just played. We had fun. I think the biggest thing was once we arrived here in Buffalo, my parents had an apartment on the east side of Buffalo. I went to St. John Canty's middle school. I just remember I didn't speak a word of English, and I felt like the ugly duckling, the one that didn't have anything, one, again, that didn't speak a word of English, and it was just kind of ugly. That's how I felt. I was kind of ugly.
Because your own perception is reality, and that pilgrimage, that's, like I said, a very scary kind of thing to think about. I didn't even think about the language barrier. So that is also probably how the whole Broadway market came with the East Side. That's how that came to be. And that's really where everything started. Did you start working there at a very young age?
I did. So when my parents moved here, right away, there was no freebies, right? I mean, they were fortunate enough to be sponsored by, Catholic charities and met a lot of great people in the Buffalo area. My mother worked for Buffalo China. My dad worked for Buff General. And then, of course, any additional jobs they could get. And that additional job was making pastries for a amazing woman that became my mother's best friend, Elizabeth, Chrusciki's, making them in their apartment. And Chrusciki is the name of our business, but it's a sour cream fried dough twisted with a little bit of powdered sugar. It's quickly fried. So that's something that they made at home as an additional hustle, right? Because they just wanted to provide for the families in Poland and for us coming over.
They had a side gig before a side gig.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the little bakery that Elizabeth had was at the Broadway market. So that's just kind of how the story starts. Then Elizabeth decides to, this is like just months, right? Everything happened so fast. Elizabeth decides that she's moving to Chicago and trusted my parents with a handshake and said, I'm selling you the business. I know one day you'll pay me back. And that's how the bakery started. It was a little kiosk at the Broadway Market, EM Bakery at the time, and then my parents, said, "Okay, we got this," and being teachers back in the day, and decided to be bakers.
And it's such a well-known name, I believe, around Buffalo, especially the Polish community, but it extends beyond that. Yeah. And I would almost say it's fair to say that because Buffalo is a very segmented community.
Yes.
I would have to say it helped kind of. Do you feel that at all? That it just kind of helped blur some lines?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say with the name though, Chrusciki Bakery. It's hard. It's easy to pronounce now. I feel like people really just like, oh, it's Chrusciki's. We're going to Chrusciki's. But I remember when my dad decided we will name it Chrusciki Bakery. I was in high school and I looked at him and I said, no, don't do that. No one will ever be able to spell it, pronounce it, none of that. And he's like, that's the point. And it's true,
Right.
It's stuck.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's stuck. It's been around since 1987.
Yeah, I moved here.
I know, right?
So it's pretty neat how some of that timing kind of works out. You've taken on some things that I would imagine were responsibilities throughout your childhood. How much did that play a role in you deciding that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? You wanted to plant your flag. Was it the only way you really understood the world?
Yeah, that's all I knew. That was it. It's kind of survival mode
right.
in some sense. But it was just we worked. If I showed you pictures when I arrived here, and it was December of 1986, we were in this apartment on the east side, Coon Street, and so many people still know that street, that street where the homes were. We were making chruscikis in our apartment, and that picture of us, my sister and I, just sitting there, and it's just boxes, flat boxes and boxes of chrusciki. So there was like, welcome to America. It's not that easy. Let's get to work. So, I started working from a very young age. And then when we moved to Cheektowaga, when my parents bought a house, I was in high school. And I always tell the story because I was a freshman and a sophomore and then a junior. And I was mortified of what I had to do every day. And that was come home and make pastries, make our chrusciki or our punchki, which is our Polish donut, in our basement. So it was the first thing I did. We came home, and I would go down in that basement, and we would make pastries.
That's so different than what I think children today experience.
Yeah.
In my childhood, which wasn't too far off from yours, but in the timeline. But I was going home. I was watching my brother, and I was doing, things later, playing soccer, like that kind of stuff. There really wasn't an option for you. So
No.
Did it make you feel like kind of an outcast at that point?
It did. I mean, I remember sitting in class, and I always smelled like something, like a fried donut. And there would be times that I'll never forget, someone.
A good and a bad thing.
I mean,
but, right,
yeah, I mean,
self-conscious about
exactly.
it.
Someone would say, "Wow, it smells like donuts in here." It'd be like first class, smells like donuts in here, and I was like mortified.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to admit it. And I would say, "Oh, someone must have went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning."
Right.
And of course, with times I got more and more confident, but that's just how I learned, to work really hard and just to give it your all. And it wasn't easy, and I really wasn't proud of it then, even though my friends were like, "My God, speak Polish, tell me something." I was like, no, I wanted to fit in.
That's just, everybody wants to fit in to some extent.
Yeah.
I guess unless you grew up in the 90s and then everybody didn't want to fit in.
Right.
That was cooler, right? But with that whole, you seem like you've certainly made up for that. You're very well known. You've got a couple different businesses. I think just this week alone, I've heard about 3 different people who have met a business connection at your restaurant.
Oh, really?
Sto
I love
Lat.
that.
Yeah.
I love it.
So do you think that there was some of the background that kind of brought you into, because if I say social butterfly and it's an insult, I apologize.
That's okay.
But I don't look at you as the type of person who is reserved. You're in the community. You're doing a lot beyond your businesses. So do you think that maybe some of your upbringing has kind of trajected you to more of that outgoing personality that I know that I'm sitting here talking to?
I think so. But believe it, I'm outgoing, but I'm not as outgoing as you think.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to really push myself. But I also love to be with good people, and I'm a sponge. And I like to learn from others. And I really do like to be involved, And I think like I said, like you said, I did want to, I grew up feeling like the ugly duckling to just finding over the years the confidence in what I brought to the table. And it wasn't just here's Ania, let's just show up and be the face of the bakery. I wanted to be more than that. And I think that's why I am where I am today, I'm just always putting something on my plate.
It's driving you, because you were just talking about, you just spoke earlier today.
At the Rotary Club.
At the Rotary Club, right? How, like, as far as, like, once again, there's so many questions I want to ask about advice that you might give and some stories that you have to tell. But when it comes to getting out there in the community, being a person that you just mentioned is, maybe it's not exactly what you want to do. somebody who might be starting out right now who has that kind of shy mentality, how do you maybe advise someone to break out of it and be able to accomplish as many things as you have?
I would say, and I say this now, and I hate to speak age, but with age, we go through a lot of different ups and downs. And, when you're a business owner, you take a risk every day. I would say surround yourself with the best people. Trust, but don't trust too much.
It's a difficult line.
It's a very difficult line.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been burnt, I've been stabbed, I've gone through a lot of different things.
But learn from it, I would imagine.
And I learned from it. But sometimes you just, I do love people. So I like to, it's hard not to trust. But I just say, when your gut tells you something's off, most likely it is. And that is one thing I've learned. When you're in conversations with people, something's just not right, but you want it to be right? So it's like one of those things, you want it to work, it has to work, but you feel that there's something off, it will come back, and you will say, shouldn't have done it. So surround yourself with truly the best people you can, and ask the questions, and just be a sponge. Be a sponge, and don't be naive, and don't just in your mind say, it's kind of like a child, like when we're kids and your parents tell you to do something, you're like, I'm just going to show them I can do it, right? And in the end, you're like, shoot, I shouldn't have, right? So it's kind of the same thing. If you really have, you can trust someone and what they're telling you, they're just being honest and trying to teach you things that I wish if I would have known 20 years ago what I know now, take that, like pay attention. You don't have to do everything people tell you to do, but just take it and analyze it all, and definitely do what's best for you. But pay attention.
Don't forget the bad experiences.
Exactly.
And it is easy to see an opportunity and chase it because you want it that bad. But if I've been there.
Been there a few times.
Right.
And that's okay. But that's what makes us better.
Just
but if there's one or two things that you could say, you know what, maybe I should have listened, and if you can avoid some things, then why not?
Right.
Yeah.
I want to learn a little bit more about, so Chrusciki is, like I said, it's so well known. I can't count how many times that I've heard some of, I'm listening to WYRK in the morning, like that kind of thing. And I think one of those personalities moved over to 106.5 or something like that. And they're always singing your praises, whether it's paid for or not. I'm not sure.
No, not at all.
Right. And
I love that.
I wish I could remember the woman's name, but I hear her voice. And she does things where she gives recipes out, and she talks about what she's doing, because people are asking that of her. But so beyond that, which I think was probably helpful, or maybe I'm wrong, in the venture into the restaurant industry. So how did that come to be?
Wow. Okay, so the restaurant, the bakery's been around since, a long time. In 2010, when I bought my parents out, I wanted them to retire and just really enjoy life, and they are enjoying their best life in Florida.
That's
and it's amazing. And then I'm a risk taker. I like to try new things. My husband's best friend came to Buffalo from Nebraska and said, he was an executive chef, and he said, I want to help you open a restaurant. Never had a plan of opening a restaurant.
It's like the biggest risk you can take, I think, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And so we decided to open this restaurant, and it's pretty massive. It's a big space. This isn't 4,000 square feet. I mean, we have a total of almost 18,000 square feet.
It's impressive.
It's big. And he had this great idea, and we thought, okay, let's take it to the next level. Let's show them what else we have. And it was right before COVID. Who knew COVID was going to hit? And my husband and our partner Peter and some friends, they had the build out done. Oh my God, the kids were so involved. Painting. I mean, we walked into a blank shell, old Eastern Hills Mall, or the old Sears building at the Eastern Hills
Right.
Mall. Blank shell, nothing. And we walked into it. They had it done in 3.5 months.
Okay.
They had the whole place, and it's beautiful. And every day my husband would say, we're doing this part, we're doing this part. And I was like, white, brown, black, this is the tile,
Right.
this is how I want it to look. It was all in my head. So the design was there. And so we did that. We put all this beautiful space together. We had the business plan, what the food and the drinks would be like. And then we had the bakery on the same, on the same floor because it's an open concept. And then took us to March and had a great party for my son's engagement party. We said this is going to be like a little soft opening. And we were supposed to open like Tuesday, Wednesday that week. And Monday came, we're just doing touch-ups and watching the TVs. And we're like, oh my gosh, like NBA shuts down, this shuts down. And we're like, holy shit.
I know. It's incredible how often this still comes up. We're years later after it, but it does come up a lot on this podcast because it was such a shift for so many different people. Some of it was blessing in disguise. Some of it was just traumatic.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on it?
I mean, you think about this. So like put in almost $500,000 into this space. And now COVID hits and you can't open. You don't qualify for anything. Well, everyone is, all the other businesses qualifying PPPs and all this fun stuff, right? To help businesses. We didn't qualify for anything because we weren't open.
Right.
So now rent is due, bills are due, and we can't open. So we didn't open until August. And that was rough. It was rough. We were so lucky that we had the bakery. So bakery was able to stay open, and bakery carried us through. I mean, the Buffalo community was amazing. I mean, people were shopping and supporting local. The restaurant couldn't open, but they supported the bakery through that whole time. And it's one of the reasons why the restaurant's even here today is because it helped support it until we were able to open in August.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, and that's a unique one that I haven't heard because most of the time it was either somebody was kind of conjuring something up or they just did it right before. But to be caught in the middle of it,
Right in the middle of it.
that's and I'm so glad that it's working out well because, like I said, it is, is in that kind of Williamsville hub, and Brennan's isn't there any longer,
Right.
So I'm sure that there's a lot of
so
traffic
much
that
has
comes
changed.
through.
I mean, the mall has closed. I mean, we've gone through so many changes since. And with every change, it's kind of, it's that bump in the road, and I don't give up. And so we just keep going.
I like it.
Yeah. We think of other ideas, what else can we do? How else do we create, that excitement? How do we get, I always say asses in seats. It's so important,
I think a lot of people have watched the Chef.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Bear. Yes, Chef.
Yes, Chef. Yeah.
I think people are a little bit more accustomed to some of that technology and some of that drive, or not technology, terminology rather, and that drive. But I want to back up a little bit when you were talking about working with your husband on the design. That's also something that you're passionate about, and that's something I didn't even bring up as I was introducing you. So you're involved in not only interior design but fashion design. So how fun was that to build this space out from nothing?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, to see something come to life that was nothing was absolutely incredible. I mean, it's great to have the ideas and the vision of the colors, and it's all in here. But to actually have the guys be able to put that together, it's pretty incredible. I give those guys a lot of credit. But every day I would come on site.
Ideas all over the place.
Because I would come
like
on
a vision
site.
board type
Oh,
person?
well, yes. But then I would come on site and I would say to my husband, That's all you did today? Because you don't see, it takes so much time to build, I don't know, a bar, the structure or the tile or paint the whole place. I mean, it was just so much to do. But every day he always laughs. He's like, I'd walk in. That's it. That's all you guys got done today.
Yeah.
But really, if you think about it, they had it accomplished in like 3.5 months, which is incredible.
Yeah, that is.
But I love design. I've always loved design. I mean, my whole life, no matter if I had a little apartment or if I moved to a home, it could be a huge house that we're moving into or just a little place. Within 24 hours, pictures were hanging, everything was set just like it should. And I've always had friends ask, just come over and design just decorate the house, decorate my house for me, But it's like the little things. Mm-hmm. And I always say it doesn't have to be expensive. It's just the little things, just the way you put, this lantern or the way you set, the couch or whatever it may be. But I love the little extras. Yeah. And then, of course, when it comes to clothes, I'm obsessed. So.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about like the clothing aspect.
I love to show people how you can just put together an outfit and it doesn't have to be expensive. Right. I mean, I could walk into anyone's closet, pull things that they would have never thought would match together. Because I think a lot of people are like, okay, I need to buy, this is a set. Right. This is how I'm going to put it on. And I'm different. I can pull out things from 10 years ago with something new today. And I will get compliments all day, every day, Yeah. So just kind of being able to put, those pieces together is so fun and exciting. So yes, I do my outfit of the day. You have no idea how many people love to see what I put together every day. And it's super fast. I don't really think about it too much.
And you're actually putting out there what you're wearing that day. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and I'm designing my own shoes. So I'm kind of, dabbling into some other things. Some fun stuff coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you feeling right now with what's going on with, there's a lot of talk about the 90s are coming back again. As we circle back to, talking about growing up as a kid in the 90s, right? So do you feel like that is like a trend that you're a fan of?
I'm not sure. I've never been big of trend kind of girl. I hate this. I know it sounds crazy, but there are definitely some things that, trends will come and I support it all the time. Mm-hmm. But I've never been, I don't know. Like I just like to put things together just because they feel good.
Right.
I'm a feel good kind of girl, so
it's like
it doesn't matter, And I do remember when I was younger, when I was in high school, and I wanted to whatever was in cross colors or whatever.
Big Pumas.
Big Pumas, and the big pants and all that fun stuff, and I love that. And it was, I remember having a hard time because we couldn't afford things. Mm-hmm. So to just switch from season to season and when the trends came, it was hard to support it, right? So I've learned to just put things together with whatever I have. Right. Or like I said, or whatever I may just maybe stop at TJ Maxx and I'll pick up a cute shirt and now I'll have fine pants from like 10 years ago. And, a different pair of shoes. I don't know, it just comes together so naturally for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm really not a big trend kind of girl. I just make things happen. Right. And they look good. I mean, I'm told they look good.
Well, I mean, if you're getting a following,
I feel good.
People are saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's also something to be said about that kind of mentality when it comes to running a business. Because if you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses and you're not sticking true to what you feel is right.
Very true.
Then you're not feeling good about it. Because there's a lot of scary purchases in business ownership. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I would imagine, with not only just buying the building and dressing it up and doing it the way that you feel right about it, has there been any other kind of like just leaps that you had to take that were just, scary, or maybe somebody was leading you in a direction that you didn't feel comfortable with? Anything like that?
I mean, just recently, I've had a few, and I always say as a business owner, we're risk takers. That's what we do. Right. And can never be surprised that if it doesn't, it might not work out. Right. It does not always work out. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. You can't beat yourself up over it. But when it's time to cut the cord, cut the cord. That's a really tough decision to make. I've had a couple situations like that. But, I can talk about my recent one. I've opened, a fast casual because I felt like it needed its own entity. And I have a disgruntled employee that feels that, he's owed something. A year, barely a year with me. And, lawsuit after lawsuit and money's spent. I had to, take part ways and re-look at why did I do what I did? First of all, I trusted. And you can't always trust everyone. And when you feel it, like I said, when their gut tells you, got to pay attention. But what I needed to do is just kind of like, okay, so we spent a lot of money, but it's just money. In the end, we make it back. We can make it back if you work hard enough. So we said, you know what, we're bringing our bowls back, right? We're bringing our pierogi bowls back, and they're going to be under one roof with Sto Lat and our Chrusciki Bakery family. And that was a tough one, but that was a big kick in the butt.
Sometimes just having a cut bait, and either there's that adage of hire slow, fire fast, like that kind of thing. But it's a whole different thing when you're talking about cutting ties with an entire business, and then you've got the aftermath.
Yeah, it's tough. There's so much to it, too. And even when you close a business, you don't realize. So when you're opening a business, it's so exciting. It's this and this and that, and you're setting everything up, and it's the colors, what a brand will look like, and, what will a website look like, and how are we going to do social media, and it's so much fun. I mean, it's great. But when it comes to shutting down a business, when you finally have to part ways, and I know a lot of business owners that have had to do that, or relocate, there's a lot of different things like that. So much comes into that, like just you have to think of everything. It's the insurance, it's turning off your cell phone or your phones, the alarm systems, just purging, cleaning. I mean, there's just so much that's involved. That's the toughest part because it could be very depressing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It could be very depressing, and but I don't know. I always said. My mother taught me not to ever feel sorry for myself. I remember being a single mom and, having my boys and running around and working hard. And sometimes I would say to my mom, like, can't you just feel sorry for me? And she's like, no. I know inside she did. It's like, you're tough. You got this. You can get through it. So I feel like that's what made me who I am today. And because there's nothing easy about being a business owner. Nothing. But life's just hard, period.
But then there's the other side of it, that it feels so good when
oh my God, it's amazing.
Wrong, right?
Why keep doing it? I mean, I keep going back. It's like an addiction, right?
Right.
Like, I want more. Now, not more isn't always better. So I think focusing on what's truly in front of you, I think that was my thing too. Because at one point I said to myself, oh my God, I'm successful. Right. So I need to open this business and that business, and we need to do this and this and this. And it was like I needed this portfolio to be so big. And that's not always good either. So
what advice would you give to yourself 20 years ago?
I'd say be a sponge. Again, listen. I've had so many great advisors that advised me well, but some things I just wanted to learn on my own.
Sure.
I did.
Sometimes you feel like you know better, and a lot of the people we've talked to on this, on this platform, were they went into business because they felt like they knew better than their boss.
Yep. The only other thing I would say is find balance. Learn to balance, because when you're a business owner, it can take over your life. I've heard someone say, "You don't own a business. The business owns you." It's a tough one to hear. I just recently someone said that to me, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't like it. I mean, I love the rewards that it brings. It really does. It brings me so much joy to know that, I have customers that come back again and again because they need a cake or they need pastries for a celebration, or just maybe because they had a crappy day and they just need a cinnamon roll and enjoy that right in their car. That brings me joy. Same thing for the restaurant. But I will say balance is such a big thing because life is short. We all know it. It could change tomorrow. And work hard, put that time in, but take the time to be with your family, be with your children, travel. Just do things for you and your family. Don't let business take 24/7 of your time.
Right.
Yeah, that's one thing I would say, because there were times where there are still sometimes times, I'll work 16, 18 hours.
Right.
And it's okay. I don't mind the work, but don't let that happen all the time.
Right.
Find a balance.
Take a break.
For families, because still,
That's
what
great
are you doing
advice.
it for, right?
Right.
Family's so important.
Right. No, that is actually a really good way of bringing it back. Is like, what are we in this for?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of just laying it out there. I think we've covered quite a bit. In the about half hour or so that
Wow,
we've
that
been
went by so
chatting.
fast.
Yeah, doesn't it? It always
Yeah.
flies by fast. Is there any other part of your business adventures that we didn't get to talk about that you wanted to touch on?
I have a show. It's called Sto
Oh, yeah?
Lat with Ania.
Okay,
It's on
yeah, that's right.
WBBZ.
We should have brought that up.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't think people would watch it. I don't know, sometimes, because I don't know. You never know, right? Will people like it? Will people like the food? Will people actually want to see what it's all about? But people love the show. I get compliments all the time, and that's on WBBZ at 7:30 on Sundays. And we have cocktails and conversations and cooking. Oh, and we cook, of course. Forgot the cooking part. So we cook. We have cocktails and conversations.
Well, that happens first, and then
Yes.
Yeah.
And I bring in local chefs and just great guests that are doing great things in our area, and I just love to share that, because I always say we're a great city, and we surround yourself with great people. Be a good person.
Yeah.
Go above and beyond to do good things. It does come back around, and it feels so good when you do. So, don't be selfish.
And that's one more thing that I apologize that I didn't bring up is, and you're probably modest enough that you didn't bring it up, is your role with the American Cancer Association, right? So you are now, this is the second time that you are the local ambassador for the
For
organization?
American Cancer Society, yes.
Yeah.
They asked, and I was honored. Unfortunately, there's so many of us are affected by cancer. So I've definitely became very involved with many different charities, and this was a good fit for me. My son, my middle son, he lives in Spain with his wife, and he was diagnosed with cancer at 24. I know, shocking. He's doing great. So it's all about awareness. My mother had cancer twice. And it's just like how important it is to, listen to your body and just pay attention to what's going on, And I always say, get all the tests, because I'd rather know than not know, better be safe than sorry,
so many
kind of
people
thing.
out there who don't want to know. And that's such a
Early prevention, my very close friend has colon cancer. Lindsay's amazing, and she's doing great. But same thing, it's just like everywhere, you hear these stories, and they're heartbreaking. So for me, it was really, really important. My father-in-law has been battling cancer for 10 years. It's just like on and on and on, and you're just like, oh my gosh, life is just absolutely insane. I've heard people have a lot of losses too, and I just want to be able to help. If I could just be that extra voice, of bringing awareness to, to this horrible thing that's around us everywhere. I'm honored to be able to do that. And but other charities, I'm involved with Hope Rises. Kate Glazer does such a great job. Gosh, what she does for the community is just unbelievable. The time that she puts in and the money that's out there for the kids and families that are in need. But there's so many. Make-A-Wish. Oh my God. I could go on and on and on. There's so many different things that, I'm involved with, and I try to help. But there's so much out there that you can do anything and just continue to be involved in help, while we're
it's
working our buns off and
Yeah.
taking care of our families.
And we'll have to make sure that in the description we list all of these things because
It's a lot.
It's an extensive list, and I'm impressed with what you've done, especially considering like where the conversation started, and how you got here, just to the United States, let alone Buffalo, and then everything that you just set out to do. It seems like if you set out to do it, it's going to happen. So if somebody's setting out to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you, other than the fact that we'll list like a lot of these links?
Sure.
Is there one hub or one central place that's
I mean,
probably
social
best?
media is always great. I get all the messages if it's Instagram or social or or Facebook. My email is aniaduchon@gmail.com. So anybody looking for collaboration, we do a lot of that too. So or just anything you may need. And I love just having coffee at Sto Lat, and I like to learn, but I also like to be if I can influence anybody to do great things and just to be just there to listen. I love to create great relationships. So
They say there is some therapy and learning by teaching, right? So that may also be one of the things that probably brightens up your day.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it, especially the kids.
Yeah.
We hire so many young kids, like at the bakery and at Sto Lat, that are with us for a while they're going to high school and then college, nursing school, all sorts of stuff. And to know that you are making a difference and you're teaching these kids to be great humans, work hard, show up, stay off your cell phone. You get paid to do a job,
Right.
all those. But really, our place, we have over 70 employees, and we're all a family. And I always say this is a safe haven. You come to work. Yes, you need to work hard. That's why you have a job. However, there's so much more to it than that. We're like, I always say my doors are open. We have conversations. I don't know. They're like my kids.
That is
they're
cool.
all my kids.
And I look at our business in a similar way. Is that it's kind of my legacy. I don't have children. So I look at this as like, this is what I'm doing. So I think everything that you brought up is super, super interesting. I wish we could do this for another
I'll have to come
10,
back.
20, 30, yeah. And I'll be in to stop by and go to Sto Lat and Chrusciki and look into everything else that you're up to. So, Ania, thank you so much and for your time and just everything that you've done for the community. It's been very, very impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all the support. It means a ton. I'm just happy to be here, to be invited. It's great.
This
is super fun.
Awesome.
And I'm excited because you're creating my website, so I can't wait to showcase that. It's going to be pretty cool.
I'm thrilled about that, and the sooner we can get that up and rolling, the better.
It's going to be wild.
And then, like I said, we can have one central place for everyone
All
to figure
these,
out everything you're up
so
to.
much.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like we missed quite a few, but
Yeah.
we'll do it again.
All right. Sounds good. Well, everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Plant Your Flag. Please don't forget to subscribe, follow on whatever platform you're most interested in. And then obviously get in touch with Ania if you're interested in any of the things that she's out there doing. I can't imagine there's not something that you're interested in. So once again, thank you so much. Have a great day. See you next time.
Perfect. Love it. Can you text it to me too?
There's a couple you can swipe.
Great.
It doesn't look like either one of us. Armando, why do you not have pants on in this picture?
So I'm going to everyone's eyes open.
Right. There's been too many of them. And then that's sometimes the time, too. It's like I over-smile. And I'm like, it's not a
Now
big
I
deal.
know. I already did it once.
Yeah. So what do you, are you feeling good about everything? My father-in-law always, he's like, good enough. I brought it to my my mother-in-law and father-in-law, their attention.
Okay.
When they were putting a ceiling fan in. And he was like, oh, it's good enough. I'm like, that ceiling fan's above your bed. And I'm not confident that this is.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm like, I don't think good enough is right here.
That's not a, yeah. That's
And then And then from there, she's like, no, think about it. He always says good enough. Duchon. I normally don't do that, but when you trip up over the beginning, you might as well start. But Chrusciki, Sto Lat, simply Pierogi.